ready.
All right, call the meeting to order at 4:03. Do roll call. Chairperson Tony McGulty here, Vice Chair Scott Burnman here, Secretary Rachel Elzita not here, Peggy Von Payne here, Kelvin Jones, Bill DeVos
Bill's not here.
and then Laura Miller not here. Okay. Has everybody reviewed the agenda? I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor? All right. So agenda all set. Any public comments? Doesn't look like it. We'll get to Doug here in a moment. All right. So the August 12th meeting minutes were drafted up. Those should be in your packet.
Yep.
Move to approve the meeting minutes from August 12th.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay. So we're to the old items of business. I think we started this 2 months ago now. Doug. Yeah, so I guess where we ended last time is we wanted to review the survey results, Peter, if I remember right.
Yep, and those are all in your meeting packet. So there's a lot of stuff there. They're towards the end of the packet. So the items that are in front of you today are we got a memo from Finish. That's the same memo that you saw in your August meeting, and kind of walks through this exercise.
Yep.
And then there have been 2 additional documents that really are just a recap of what has been done so far. So this constraint needs, desires, and owners, users, and stakeholders. Those are all from Doug. Those are in the packet. So we'll go from there. But then after that, starts the survey results from a little over a year ago. And there's a lot of information here about responses and how people travel, what kind of modes of transportation they use, perceptions of safety, that kind of thing.
So with that, before we jump into that, Peter, Brian, would this be the time I'd like to ask, is there been any updates as it relates to the corridor project with MDOT?
The only update that we have right now is a kickoff meeting on the 22nd.
Okay. Next Tuesday.
So we have that, but that's not, so we got an hour next Tuesday that will learn more about where they're at with things, but no, nothing else.
But that's just a kickoff?
Yeah.
So who is that with?
That would be with MDOT, all of their team of engineers that they've assembled, of all the different, the different disciplines, and
Yep.
it'll be at least me, Doug will be there on your behalf, Township's behalf, and that's everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have an issue with the agenda or anything, so sometimes we'll have an opportunity to talk. Sometimes it'll just be, all right, here we're at, and then we'll have to figure out where we can meld in into their schedule and get with David Harrison, MDOT PM, and work with him when we can get in, share some of our information.
Okay.
As Peter said, in that packet is the survey that was done a few years back.
Yep.
So after I took everybody's, we wrote a bunch of stuff on the board, I put that in there. Then I went back and read through all the questionnaires and even added some, constraints, needs, and desires to the list based on what was received in the comments from the survey. So I did add a few in here to try to cover everything. So that was something that I had done. Besides that, so I didn't know if everybody, had a chance to review everything we had on the list, or not, that there was anything they wanted to add.
And you're referring to the constraints, needs, and desires?
Yes.
Spreadsheet?
Yeah, we pretty much, I think from the survey covered everything. I think it was like the accidents, the speed, pedestrian, increased pedestrian, so, maybe some more multi-fold things in here is what I really put in. I did add some different things, I think, from, or designated between maintaining traffic, or I did put some stuff in there for during construction
Oh, good.
and during everything.
So is this something you think, Peter, Doug, that we would, as the kickoff next week, is this something that potentially be shared then, if they ask for it, or do we think we're just gonna do more listening and then come back? Or we're gonna have them come back, MDOT maybe come here, and we can run this through them at that time, or what are some thoughts?
I would actually kind of defer to Doug. I haven't been to a lot of these. I haven't been to any of these kickoff
At
meetings.
this point, I guess would be that we listen to see what their schedule is. I would bring this, because I think it's appropriate, you know, not to make a deal of it, but I'm almost thinking that it'd be nice to be able to request one-on-one stakeholder meeting with them as a key stakeholder, as the township is through here, and you're, in the village. That would be, my desire, that we could, go to, let's sit down and hold this. I'm just afraid if we don't get a one-on-one with them, if we just handed them this list, it's just gonna go in a folder.
Yep.
And they're not gonna look at it. And I really, depending, like Peter said, how many people are in the room, and they're, they may have a whole bunch of topics and people that we won't have time and nobody's gonna listen to us. So I'd rather kind of be a one-on-one with the PM and the design team.
Can we make that request at the meeting on the 22nd for them to come in?
I can certainly try. Sure.
Okay.
You're talking for our November meeting.
Whatever, I know that'd be a quick turnaround, but potentially November, if not, like.
Yeah, we'll see what their schedule is.
December.
Like the data or
Yeah.
whatever in the list. So that they have different phase. I'm not sure how this EPE is working. That's one thing we gotta see from the schedule. But, are they gonna, sometimes what they call an illustrative alternative phase, where they look at different alternatives to study and kind of filter through. And that's where we want to get this in front of them when they're doing that phase. So, okay, so we want some sidewalks, on this side, and we want the, account for some head crossings at, the marketplace, and have a rescue place in the middle, make sure that's accounted for. So when they come for their first, say, public meeting or whatever, we can see, oh yeah, okay, they have addressed it, and then if not, we say, hey, why didn't you address it? I'm just curious on how it's gonna be. Given the fact that they've taken, 8 months almost.
Just to get this scheduled.
God knows what they're. I'm worried they're either gonna accelerate it, skip phases.
That's
Get it done.
which we don't want.
Which we don't want, which can typically happen with them not, because they'll get pressured that why haven't you started this thing? So it'll be something to be concerned about, think about.
And is there, as part of that conversation, well, obviously with the township, with all the need out here, based on the new development, I presume that will be a part of the conversation would be, hey, we got whatever, all these big box users, we've got all this updated traffic. Has that been provided to the department, or is that something that will be discussed next week?
Some of that has been provided, so I've shared with, and I'll show you this group later at
Okay.
this meeting. I've shared the traffic study for the Bass Pro Shop and site plan for the Bass Pro.
Okay,
They also have the phase 3 that is now in front of us, and I'll talk a little bit more about that during the staff
great.
review report portion of the meeting.
Okay.
So yeah, anything that I've been getting, I'm sharing with not only the county, but also MDOT, just to make sure that they're informed up to the minute of any projects that are happening in that little corridor.
The one, no, Doug, I think this looks good. I guess, does everybody have?
Yeah. I thought it looked good.
Is there anything that from the team that you would like to see added or modified?
And feel free, like I said, I know he's busy, so if you're, bored this weekend, and you want to look it over.
I did look it over, and my sense was it was as I couldn't think of anything obvious, but I think the one-on-one conversation as you discuss it with them, may broaden perspectives or.
Yeah. Yep. Is there anything
I
with
gotta
this?
believe we're the, you know.
That's pretty cool.
Stakeholder.
This is.
Yeah.
In their
I'll
whole
be
study,
steering.
so they better. Have a good list. So.
And then, related to, you got the sheet in here related to the, owners, users, stakeholders. Does anyone have anything on that page to add? Make sure we got the board in there. Kelda.
Thanks, Tony.
Do we need the county, Eaton County in here? Do we have that? Maybe-
Yeah, they're in stakeholders, second one down.
Oh, thank you. I think. I can't think, I don't see anything missing out of there. Yeah, school buses, yeah, you got. Yeah, it's pretty comprehensive, Doug.
That's pretty good.
Good. Yeah. Probably the one thing out of the shoot is it'd be interesting in the conversation around street lighting. I can't remember where we left off. Right, I think you mentioned last time, continuing maybe the street lighting to broadband, I thought we were talking about. Probably at the same clip as we have out here right now. I don't know if we would want to change that design, but that might be something want to consider as they get going.
Yeah, I think it's, at least some look at the lighting survey, because driving through there is no lights dedicated for the street. It's not that it's, it's not that it's not well lit, on the businesses all have kind of well lit signs and parking lots and that type of thing, but, you know, potentially a couple more mast arm over the road.
Yeah, so we have decorative lighting under desires, so then my suggestion would be to put that under a need, and it could be your standard LED, road, you know, type roadway lighting, and then the desire would be to have it more decorative. Like with the electrical outlets and the banners and stuff, if we want. Well, like that.
Sounds good to me. Makes sense, okay. Everybody good with that?
I would just ask,
That's already on there.
do you want all, the electrical outlets on the lamps and banner holders, the works, or do you just want just the pole and light?
Yeah, so on the desires comment, I had add mounts to lighting for banners and flags, and then add electrical outlets at the light.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
good, okay.
especially I think it look, make it look nice.
Yeah, banners and stuff, but the electrical outlets, are there electrical outlets that they could use in that transition where the lights are at, or what? You may not even use them.
It's unlikely we would use them.
Right.
I've seen some of them, you know, they have electrical reefs or something.
Right.
That's what I was
Especially if you
thinking.
get decorative
Holiday
lighting,
decoration.
you might wanna light it up for like you know, the holiday shopping or something. It doesn't hurt to have them, but.
Okay.
I mean, if they're out there, they just put them there. I mean, it's a cheap thing, but that's something just, I mean, it's up to you when we get to that point.
When will we have to? Like it's something just to consider and think about when we put the schedule together as a team. Based on how much we have in the bank per se, what enhancements can we really afford? When will we really understand that? have that conversation, right? I mean, this is basically we're going in with an open canvas, but
But what I'd suggest is, once we see that schedule and they ever get to the point where they're gonna select a preferred alternative. Okay, so do they have the funds? Are they ready to move right into design, get this thing built? We look at that, and one thing we could do right then is start looking at an enhancement grant, see what the schedule is for an enhancement grant.
Mhm.
And fit that in and tell them that, yeah, we'd like these certain things, we're gonna submit an enhancement grant. They typically will help us and you guys can just, submit that and get extra money for the decorative lighting, the banners, electrical outlets. They'll give you so much money, for that. We're doing that right now in Camden.
Okay.
We're looking at doing that up in Rochester for the sidewalk. Even the sidewalk here
Yeah.
on this north side
Yeah.
would be part of that. So.
a
it's
little
just
wider
like-
sidewalk, you're saying, right?
Well, no, you wanted the sidewalk here from Canal.
Oh, sure.
over On this side.
Yeah.
That can even be part, because we're
Okay.
looking at adding it across the bridge over in Rochester too, and then it's an enhancement grant. We just submitted it.
Is that grant, that would be through the state?
Yes.
Enhanced, okay,
Mhm.
gotcha, all right, that wouldn't be going, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, no, that's right through the state.
Through the state, okay.
Well, yeah.
Are those matching grants?
Yes, no, you put some in there, for Camden, I think, Camden doesn't have much in it, if you've ever been there. They don't
The
even have a
metropolis,
restaurant.
I get it.
It's bad, like they received $100,000, and I think they're only.
There might be a place for it.
20 or 25,000 for it, it's
Mhm.
not. I'd have to look at it.
Okay.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Exactly. What do you got in the budget? Okay. If there isn't any other additional comments, as Doug mentioned, Peter, if you got any more this week, send them to
Yeah,
Peter?
so
Yeah,
the-
send me.
And then, they'll be ready for next Tuesday.
I was gonna say, I guess, just to circle back to your question, when are we gonna know the cost?
Yeah.
I think the initial goal is to get as much of this in front of MDOT and hopefully many of these can be incorporated into the design, or even they can assist with some of the grants, but then, some of the other stuff that MDOT says we don't, that's an owner cost.
Like
If you
the
guys,
township.
you wanna go forward with that, then and then we'll have to either do the investigation or have the,
Yeah.
put together costs and then decide from there going forward.
Good.
And some of those things, I mean, like light posts, certainly there's some upfront costs, but that would be something also, I mean, that'll be a perpetual cost for the township, down the road, so might take a little bit of discussion as well.
Makes sense. The other thing I would add, if it comes up, they ask, is how are they gonna incorporate their stakeholder engagement plan with our board and the residents, right? You wanna make sure we're on the same page there.
Yeah.
Yeah, ideally, I mean, that was in the genesis of the project, something that MDOT saw value in is combining those public outreach efforts. Hopefully that feeling is still the same, because I think then, it benefits both of us and not having multiple
Good.
different stakeholder input sessions or
And-
anything
yeah.
like that.
And we'll do a better job than they will. I mean, I think we know the market, we know the people.
Mm-hmm. We can get, I think, the people here.
I'm hoping that we can take a lead on that with their support, have them in the room for whatever, let's just say it's an open house or something that they're here to explain away the details, but we'll all be on the same page by that point. And our team, I think, is gonna be better at outreach, just in general. More touches, more frequently, more people.
And did the survey we did last year, did that get sent to them too, or will that? get
Yeah,
sent?
yeah, a little while ago.
Good.
But I'll make sure that it's on the front of their,
You might want to remind them.
yeah.
A lot of new faces over there.
Yeah,
last
okay.
year.
Understood.
Okay. Well, if anything else, Doug?
No,
That's very good.
I'm curious, Tony, just
Yeah.
getting into the survey,
Yeah.
again, being old, I was just refreshing myself. The what is, I mean, one of the things that that seems to come up, but doesn't seem addressed, but I don't literally have a vision how to do this.
Yeah.
There seems to be some people who are in wheelchairs, which are a materially small amount of people in this survey, but they have a high degree of anxiety about traveling, which makes sense. It's a busy area. What can you do to make it even better for them? I mean, I'm literally finding myself going, what could we do to help if it even makes sense? But I just wondered if you had a previous experience about.
well, most of it would have to be having the wider sidewalks, not doing the 6 foot, but doing the 10 foot or the 8 foot. Just so they have more room, if somebody's walking, the other way, you know, feel pressure to have to stop and let somebody pass by, there's enough room for them to do it. The other thing is some things that was talked about the other week at these crossings such as Canal, as long as they are, make sure besides the countdown, had pedestrian things with the voice activated, that's yourself, a refuge area. Say, I mean, that first 4 or 5 lanes, you get a slow start, you know, get out. And, you know, some of them I think have trouble too. Yeah, those detectable warning pads are nice, you know, for, you know, blind people with a cane, but you know, with that wheel, they can get stuck in those pegs. It's hard for them for that
True.
first push to get moving. Cause most of the time too, they're sitting up at top of the ramp and then they gotta go down. They're not like kind of standing right there to get going. So having those refuges and that countdown, making sure, you know, there's enough time and for them to get across, especially with the speeds out here. I can see. And the other thing is you never want to put that sidewalk next to a curb. Keep a nice buffer zone for them so they don't feel, you know, something happens that somebody's not driving by and they can't see behind it and they get clipped or something. Those are the types of things that, and again, the lighting's another beneficial for them. Making sure they go straight for the lighting.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
And driveways is the other one, you know, trying to make sure if you see sometimes you get to the sidewalk and then the driveway is like this and the sidewalk not like that, you know, trying to make that show that sidewalk through the driveway at the right cross slope, so they can do that. There's just quite a few little different things like that in
Good question.
Yes.
Anything else? Any other questions? Everybody good?
Right now.
All right. Thank you, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
Appreciate the time. So that's under old business, nothing new items of business.
Nothing new on the agenda right now. I'm gonna set up for November to have to be our second community meeting where we send notices out to the taxing jurisdictions.
Oh, okay.
So for what that's worth.
We have to do that twice a year, right?
Yeah, we have to do that twice a year. I've been wanting to get it done and just haven't gotten it done yet, so.
Okay.
So we'll get that done for your November meeting. We will, yeah, I don't really have any other kind of CIA business for you. I was gonna walk you through what's on our planning commission agenda meeting tonight, because it's all about Delta crossings.
Oh, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank
So,
you.
Give me a minute, let me share my screen here. Oh, go ahead.
This too.
Yeah, please, do that while I'm doing this.
And also while Peter's doing his planning commission meeting, I will be over at our township board meeting. We'll have CATA. They're presenting, they just released survey that they did last week or received the findings last week. This is a survey they did in September. Basically on the Route 3 extension, ridership and impact survey. So I will send this out or have Peter send it out to
Thank you.
all of you. But I wanted to have CATA present it to our township board first, but some interesting data on what people are riding the CATA bus to kind of validating, you know, some of the thoughts of, you know, why people are riding the extension and where they're going and where they're coming from. So
That's
kind of
fantastic.
interesting data to look through. So
Thank you.
we'll definitely send that out and we can talk about it more in November.
Of the numbers, the data is higher
Yeah, it's been continuing to increase, since then and some of the data may not be, overly surprising, but it's, pretty validating. A large percentage of users are going to the Walmart area, Meyer, Lansing Mall, Horrocks,
And that's the
hitting some
loop
of
that goes down Canal, St. Joe Marketplace.
Yes.
And back to the east.
Yeah, so we extended Route 3.
Extended Route 3, okay.
Yep.
Has there been any other conversations about extending it further west, or is that really the primary focus right now?
Think for Route 3, this is our primary focus, but there are some discussions with extending it further. I don't know if it's actually a Route 3 extension or incorporating some micro transit, that type of thing, but that's in serving some of Grand Ledge. So that's a question I can bring you back some
Just curious.
information on that, but there definitely some discussions on
I guess the others I was bringing it up is if there is I'm sure that this will come up in the design, but incorporating any type of stops with the proposed design would make sense to do so now. So.
It would, yeah, it would. I know in my mind, stop me if I'm going too far, but like the challenging part of it is we just don't know kind of the permanence of the routes.
Yep.
So
Makes sense.
I also want to plan long-term for it, but if it comes down to a ballot question at some point for a new millage, when was the last time that was on the ballot here?
I don't think it's been in the ballot.
Oh, okay. I thought they got denied at one point or voted down years ago.
Years ago, it was voted down to put it on the ballot.
Oh, okay.
But that was Ready Ride.
Mhm.
We had a pilot for Ready Ride, and that was kind of door to door
Yeah.
service. So this is more focused route extension. But Peter is right. Eventually, it'll have to receive its
Okay.
own funding or
Gotcha.
kind of stand on its own. So.
It's just a complicating factor, I
Yeah,
think, in long-term planning
Yep.
for infrastructure out here.
Makes sense. Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Okay, so, yeah, some of this might be repeat, but just stop me along the way.
Yeah.
So, let's talk Delta crossings for a little bit, because that's been my world for the last, month or so. What's been done so far out there? So we got West Saginaw along the bottom of your screen here. We've got phase 1, which is the strip center along the highway. The phase 1 consisted of that, the Texas Roadhouse. This building G has not been built. This is one of the lots they haven't done anything with yet.
Okay.
We have
We don't have a tenant for that.
No.
Point. It's just
It's nothing, yeah, it's just a dirt site. They don't have any plans to necessarily build that part of it, but we heard some conceptual ideas and they didn't sound valid yet, so. And they haven't pushed us to talk anything about it. So we got the actions here in the strip center. So the newest construction is the A8 is now the Burlington.
Mhm.
So that is open. So they built that, leaving of course a hole on the west, on our West Saginaw Highway, to the east. So they're moving over here and they're open now. So, and then the Best Buy was constructed or is under construction right now. If you see equipment on the far end of that as they're going on the highway, you'll see that that's under construction. A building permit's been issued. That will be the Best Buy that's over by the mall. So they'll move out to a much smaller footprint. This is about 29,000 square feet. So that would leave another hole, a bigger, harder to fill hole near the mall. So we have been in discussions with the owner of that property that owns the Best Buy. Of course, they're out of state. They're like New Jersey folks. I'm not sure they have real solid plans at this point. Just speak frankly about how they want to fill that building. That's a 60,000 square feet, maybe. The Best Buy building is huge.
65,000.
It's something like, it's something like that. So I'm not sure right now what the future of that building might be once this Best Buy is completed. But they haven't even started the foundations on the Best Buy, so we got a little time, but I'd imagine it's gonna be sooner than later. Phase 2 is the BJ's wholesale store, their little gas station.
Yeah.
And then we've got the credit union and the Olive Garden. this building was gonna be at home.
Yeah.
And right now it's a shell of a building. They did do foundations that are there and the wall. We've had ongoing discussions with the developer about the future of that site. They want to use the infrastructure that they've installed. Township has not been particularly involved with it because the properties have all been under, and continue to be in this phase as part of the, ongoing litigation between the parties. So we were not interested in being involved with that particular activity.
So it's still under litigation.
It's still, yeah, we understand that there's an appeal that has to
Yeah.
run out, and then once that appeal's done, and at that point, it would be done.
Done.
But as far as we know, that hasn't happened.
I have not seen it was at the Court of Appeals, I believe, and there was supposed to be a judgment, I think in September. I have not seen that yet. That could be out there, but as all of you probably can imagine, some of these lawsuits are complex, so it never seems like there's just an exact cutoff point.
For that.
So we have been waiting till there's kind of that clearance that it's done.
Yeah. So, this is before I get out of phase one and phase two. So that's phase two. So phase two, part of a question mark here on the west side. Back to phase one, there's a small building here, the little car dealership. This property has been purchased by the development team, but it's not part of the TIF. They haven't said there'd be necessarily any plans for this building, but I just wanted to share that they did buy it.
So the overall developer bought it.
Yes.
Is the immediate plan the car dealership staying or they're moving?
As far as I know, in the meantime, they're staying. Have you heard of otherwise?
I think they moved out.
They've closed, they're
Oh, they're
closed.
close. Shows what I know. Okay.
The Paradise, I think they completely moved. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
not the
little
big one. Not
right
Crippen. Yeah, Crippen's
okay.
still there.
Yeah, no, Crippen, yes. This is continuing to be owned independently. I was just talking about this little
The little-
Crippen.
the
Okay.
little piece.
Yeah, sorry if that was confusing.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go up to the next phase that we're looking at is phase three, or excuse me, phase three would be the right way to tackle this. It's phase 4A. So, Marketplace Boulevard right now runs from Saginaw up to here. It is supposed to be a public road. Has not been turned over to the county yet, so we're working on that. They would extend Marketplace Boulevard to another street called Bohemia Avenue that's gonna run east. This would be private. So this would be public, the blue, and then running east here would be a private road called Bohemia. And that would be the Bass Pro
Oh, okay.
footprint. So it's 87,000 square feet. It's about 27 acres, I think. So this would all be developed, and I'll show you a detailed plan on that in a second.
Good.
Just to give a little more context to the site in general. The developer has also submitted to my office phase three, which was something that was approved a couple of years ago, but it expired. So it's 350 multiple family units. I recognize this phasing plan says 224. The plan I've got says 349.
Okay.
So there could be a little difference between, I don't know if they know for sure what they're gonna do with that yet. But they have submitted this project for site plan approval. So we'll be reviewing that and getting that on a docket sooner than later. Phase four, so we've seen phase one, phase two, phase three is the residential off of Broadbent.
Yeah.
With the residential component, that would be the extension of, Carlson Road
Yep.
from Broadbent. So across here, so that would link up to Marketplace Boulevard. So that comes with the new public road. Phase 4A is Bass Pro. Phase 4B, they're calling it potential medical center. I don't know for sure what this would be. And then phase 5 underneath that is another strip center or power center, if you will, development in the middle here. So I'm not aware that they have anybody named, any potential tenants for any of this stuff, other than just kind of placeholders on the phasing plan.
Isn't there a McLaren Medical Center that's going in there?
I wouldn't think so. So McLaren's building the center down at Nixon and West Saginaw,
Okay.
but I'm not aware that they have, I mean, they may want something like that here, but I don't know if they
All right.
have done it yet. So those are all future, so this is on the docket for tonight's planning commission meeting. They have a rezoning, 2 special land use permits and a site plan for this.
If
What
that all went through, what is the timeline for that completion, or it's not that far along?
they want to be, I think they want to have it built by the end of next summer. Because they have to turn it over to, the way I understand it's gonna go down is that they would build the shell of the building. And then Bass Pro would come in and build the inside and do the landscaping and do the exterior treatments to the building. So I don't know if that timeline is firm or realistic. At this point, I just don't, there's a lot of balls in the air on this one. But that's the way it would go, and then the process internally would be planning commission tonight. It will go to our board at a future meeting, whether that's next week or in a couple weeks from now. And then it stays with our development review team for the next month or so.
Can
So-
you tell me, how does that Bass Pro facility impact the other one that's across from Menards?
Well, I don't know for sure, other than they'll share a market. And it might not be a positive influence on the store, on the other store. I don't know if I don't know how popular that other store is, if it would put them out of business. Yeah, it might.
Bass Pro? But they're-
The other-
Sportsman's warehouse across the
Yeah.
street.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, sadly. For us, we react and regulate business, but we can't moderate the
Yeah, we don't deny
private
land
market in
uses.
terms of how it can affect other.
It just becomes another big box square footage.
It's just all empty space.
Yeah.
Makes it harder to
Right.
make the corridor more attractive.
So then looking forward, long term, they have a plan for a phase 6 here. You're not seeing a lot of detail. They're saying that assisted living here, they even have self-storage along the highway. Not particularly excited about that. So, but this is who knows when. And then the rest of phase 6 would be residential. They're saying 100 dwellings. I just don't know whether or not this developer is gonna be interested in proceeding that far or not.
So in the phase 3, is that like townhomes or something?
It's a mix of housing types. Yeah, looks like it's mostly multifamily and townhomes.
Phase 6, is that a part of the overall development here, or is that a different developer?
Well, any of these could potentially be another developer. So I know they're working like for phase 3, they are telling me that they don't have the multifamily experience, so they would bring in a third party to do that work. I don't know at this point if the owner would retain ownership over these properties long-term, or if they plan on selling them. So like with Bass Pro, I don't know if they plan on building the building for Bass Pro and then selling them the parcel
Okay.
and do a long-term land lease with them. It's just not real clear to us yet how that's gonna work. With the other phases, with phase 1 and 2, now granted, these are different standalone buildings. They ended up doing site condos for these.
Oh, they did.
Yeah. So on that, I just don't know at this point.
So you're saying site condos, so each one of them are,
These are all condoed out, so these are all different units in the master deed.
Meaning that they're all
They're all
renting
paid.
and they pay CAMs basically for common area management.
Yeah,
okay.
so then, yeah, then we have the question mark for phase 6, but if that does come along, it'd be residential here. So, then I'll show you wrong page.
Well, how does this affect or not affect there hasn't been any, so we have no agreement with these individuals right now, for anything.
We have no agreement, anything, no development agreement. At one point, there was a conversation about moving in that direction that
Yeah.
never proceeded.
Okay.
So we have no obligations to anybody, which is a good position to be in.
So right now, though, as this board meets, we're taking the value capture.
We are collecting, we're collecting the increment on the growth of the property values there.
All the way
And-
up to phase 6 or just?
Well, it's really anywhere that has improved that there is increment to capture, so.
Okay.
If you remember, there's this property that we
Yes.
capture and then the Brookside property,
Brookside, okay.
which has had no improvement, so there's very little capture off of
Okay.
that property. So most of the capture from this one is obviously coming from phase 1 and phase 2, which have improvements on them.
Yeah. So it's just speculatively, I mean, we would anticipate and ask at some point. Particularly at the public infrastructure that would be installed on this, I would assume that they would come back to the township and want tip reimbursement to construct this, the public road.
The original reimbursement that was built for the $14 million, what is the status of that?
There is no status.
Basically,
Yeah,
the
when,
entity changed, and so
went
there's
in.
nothing that exists anymore.
yeah, they went and had litigation. The project never, moved forward as it was planned. There was no, our plan, you have to have an executed developers agreement or reimbursement agreement, and there was never got to that point. If you remember, we had started kind of discussions, so at this point, there is no, the value has not been created as promised in the plan.
Yeah.
The timeline's not really been the same, so that original discussion, it would have to be an all new discussion
started.
if, yeah.
Good.
Which is good.
They could come back and ask for money that was invested in that phase, but not sure how well that would be
I
received
remember
at this
getting
point.
into a spirited side discussion with Chris going, you're asking for it after you built it. It's
Hmm.
like, what exactly is your leverage?
And what obligation on the township's behalf was there? There really wasn't. So real quick, we don't have to, you don't have to spend too much time with this one. I just wanted to at least show you what the Bass Pro site is gonna look like, or what as proposed, keep in mind. So it's an awkward site plan because it's at an angle like this, so what you're seeing right here is that Bohemia Avenue coming off of Marketplace. So really, this is going east. My mouse is going east.
Yeah, here, to the left of that, is that green space or water retention pond?
So to the left of this, let's see how far
At
down I
that
can get
corner,
here.
no, at the corner, right where you were,
Yep.
that little wedge shape, yeah, those two things.
One of these is a detention pond and one of them is what they're calling a demonstration pond. And so their plan, and is short on details, is
Photo.
not that I'm not excited about the project. I mean, I think it's a good project. But they haven't shared with us. What they're telling us is this would be where kayaks could be tried, that you could try kayaks out. They might do some fishing classes or stuff like that out here. The idea is this would have water.
Mhm.
So a detention or a retention pond versus
Just
detention,
for fun.
right?
That's the question.
So,
How about the space up above after the next intersection?
so this would be their stormwater. So
Okay.
they've got a pretreatment and so this would be their stormwater detention. I think that also is stormwater. So yeah, so you could enter in via that Bohemia Avenue. Then there's another side drive off of here that eventually you could get into the site that way. You can also get on by that little in and out, right in, right out only down by the highway. Or off of, I know this map doesn't show it, but here, sorry for all the flipping around here.
yeah.
I criticize my staff for doing this, but so there's the one in and out as you go down here. It's kind of a dangerous intersection, frankly. Right in, right out.
Yeah.
So you can go in that way and get to Bass Pro. You can go up Marketplace, get to Bass Pro. In phase 3, but it gets built, you go up Broadbent, drive down Carlson, get over here to get to Bass Pro. So Bass Pro is gonna have lots of ins and outs. But back to the actual plan. So then, yeah, there's a lot of parking. They were denied a variance from our zoning board of appeals to build too much parking. So we have not only minimums of
Really?
parking, but that we have a maximum of
Mhm.
parking. A lot of communities are starting to adopt the maximums because, you know, a lot of retail stores, particularly the big box stores, they park for Christmas Eve.
Oh, gotcha.
And there's just, they don't need that much.
Yeah. I see.
So what right now they asked for about 126 spaces more than they're allowed. And our ZBA said no.
Why would they ask for more? Just for the holiday, you're saying?
Well, I mean, I'm
Just curious.
it's not just the holiday, but their argument was that Bass Pro has, you know, and that they have lots of stores. So they understand their parking needs, you know, better maybe than the local municipality, which that's a fair argument. But our ZBA decided that they didn't kind of provide enough information to show that they needed the exception, right? So what they've indicated to me is that they're coming back with a plan that it will meet the parking ordinance. So they weren't gonna go back to the zoning board of appeals. They're gonna just meet our ordinance, which is good. That's the path of least resistance, so I'm glad they're following it. So we got the store here, and then a lot of parking ins and outs and all that. And then there'd be some boat storage on the back. This area, and I've learned a lot about Bass Pro in the last couple of weeks. They provide boat service.
Which is storage, off-season storage.
I think it's storage, service, repair.
I didn't know that either.
So they've got bays like they do a car dealership here.
For your board.
Yeah, they both go in and they do the work inside here, and they have a boat storage area back here.
Yeah.
But they say it's just for new boats, but I've been in the planning zoning game long enough. You never know. So I would imagine we might see a mix of stuff here.
Chevy with no wheels.
Yeah.
It's new to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the site. I mean, I didn't pull up the renderings. If you've seen a Bass Pro, the articulation on it's a very unique storefront. And the roof line, it's not just the plain old big box store that you see everywhere else.
I mean, I think it's exciting and admittedly, I do have a bias, but this isn't about the bias. I think Peggy brought it up too. My fear from the day one of being on this group, which I'm honored to be on, is that I think everything we keep doing to build the west side makes it harder to meet the very things in the survey, because it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means I just think we have the responsibility to do it with an eye on the east side of that corridor as well. Because again, Best Buy moves. Gosh forbid, had this not slowed down, Myers might have moved. At one time that was a consideration. And then think about how we're trying to rebuild this, and the negative comments we get are pretty clear in the survey about safety. But beyond that, it talks about blight and appearance. And all these empty buildings are gonna be a challenge and probably require incentives to get people to refill them. So we're getting taxes on one end and giving it away on the other doesn't seem to, we don't want to do that either.
Okay, that's a juice worth the squeeze.
Mhm.
It's understandable. Is tonight's meeting just about Bass Pro, or is it about phase 3 as well?
No, it's just about Bass Pro. Yeah, they've got a rezoning, land use permits just related to Bass Pro. I don't have a hearing scheduled for phase 3 yet. I've only been able to handle kind of one project of theirs at a time, because they flood the zone with a lot of
You're not
stuff.
alone. East Lansing took me 8 weeks to say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That took 8 weeks.
Due diligence.
They're pretty good.
But you received information on phase 3 as well.
I do have information on phase
So you're
3.
working engineering, planning, engineering, everybody's
Yeah,
doing phase 3 now?
well, they will be on it as soon as they can get this one. As soon as I get this kid off to college, we're gonna focus on phase 3 and get our team focused on that one.
So tentatively, we could have early next year, this and phase 3 going at the same time.
We could. Yeah,
Brookside, I think something has to happen with Brookside, just for the Ida state purposes. They're starting, their clock's ticking on their fiduciary responsibility to liquidate those assets. So they're gonna have to do something. They're closing their Lansing office, it appears, because they just sent me a message. They're closing the Mike Ide office, the mailing, at least the mailing address for everything that I'm doing. They sent me notification as of next month to send it to Detroit.
Oh,
So
Yeah, we don't have any information other than we continue to field calls with, I guess we'd kind of coined it tire kicker.
Yeah.
Nothing that's really proceeded to anything very serious at this point on that site.
what is that small building next to Texas Roadhouse that was planned? What was that designed for initially? Or just a vanilla box and they?
I think it's just another little shopping center. He didn't have a tenant for it.
You know what the parking is around that?
I don't, but I can get it. I can get
I'm
it
just
for you.
curious. We'd love to put an American Bistro in this part of town somewhere. And I was really surprised to see the preponderance of survey requests wanting more restaurants, because I wish all those people who wanted it were eating at ours. I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, well, that really got to the concept plan
Mhm.
for building G. Like, Connect you with the development team if you're a very patient person.
Yeah. I'm out of patience right now on my current project, so,
I can get some info for you.
but it would be a project down the road for us. I'm
All right.
just curious about that space.
Yep.
Okay, any other staff updates, project updates?
Not really right now.
Okay. Very good. Brian?
Don't have anything to add unless anyone has any general broader questions for the township.
How's the fault being from the political issues from Ken? How is it disrupting any activity here?
It's not
Business as
really,
usual.
Yeah.
yeah, thankfully, I mean, the infrastructure and staffing, everything really hasn't affected that. It's,
Then we have we don't, because I don't live here, but there's a vote coming up in November, right? Which is, obviously doesn't make sense to change. And are we getting active? Is there a lot of interest in running for that position?
Right, candidate.
but there's been
Yeah.
2 write-in candidates, but, and it's still on the ballot, so you know,
Yeah.
Because of the
board-
timing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, yeah, our board will have to make a decision after, that election, when things will resolve. So there's a lot of, different, legal things, but most likely towards the end of the year, beginning of the new year, we'll appoint a supervisor and be moving on.
Got to. Okay.
Would you have to hold a new election? I heard in 2026.
In 2026, yes.
Any other questions for anyone? Looks like our next meeting is scheduled for November 11th. Any issues? Anybody? Any preliminary scheduling conflicts?
So,
I'll send a note out and ask, because we got a couple people that haven't been around for a while, so.
I was gonna ask about that.
Yeah,
too.
me too.
And I've been thinking missed 1 or 2,
Yeah.
which out of the blue, and I apologize, November 11th could suck for me too, because the Lord willing, right now, what I've told our contractors is never gonna happen. That I need the building back to me by November 15th so that I can turn to reopen. Right now, I'm tentatively trying to open East Lansing on December 2nd and praying to God that it doesn't go any longer. Cause it's, $4,000 a day, basically, that you're out, so. That could be a crazy time, but
Yeah.
right now, I certainly expect to be here. It's a priority for me.
Is that November 11th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Monday.
That's Veterans Day. Some people have it off.
I knew there was.
Yeah,
We'll be working.
we don't.
We don't
We
have
don't
it
have it
off,
off either.
Yeah,
at least at this
Yeah,
point.
we don't.
We will again, we being the Rotary, Delta Waverly Rotary and Act One North feeding veterans for free that day.
Yep.
From 8:30 to 10:30, there'll be a ceremony with Sherry Jones.
Mhm.
emceeing it. And the Delta Waverly School is providing a band that morning from 8 to 8:30 as the veterans arrive. They'll be playing patriotic music. And then the students will be also acting as hosts to help seat the veterans and sit in with them, thanking them. So if you guys are around and want to come, certainly feel free to
Pretty good.
be our guest to do that. We'd love to have you. Just let us know.
Okay, November, okay, very good.
That's the morning, right?
That's the morning.
Yeah, we're doing it from 8:30 to 10:30 in the morning. We did it in the morning last year. Admittedly, it was on a weekend and people seemed to like it because they could get on with their work day or whatever else they wanted to do.
Mhm. Was there a question about attendance before we wrap up?
I mean, the question is, do we have to find out? Obviously, we need to replace, right?
Yeah, that's a, what's the word? But he's in, that position, whoever is supervisor will be
Yeah,
ex officio by nature of its title or that
So like right
person is
now,
on the CIA board.
it's Mary.
Well, she's acting with,
Stay acting, but we not.
I guess we haven't really broached that with her, but we can.
No,
And then people who, again, I know I've not been very reliable compared to what I take pride in doing. But people who can't make it or their lives have changed and they're too busy like we had with
yeah,
Yeah, we have a
Bill, we
section.
probably need to find out if they need to be replaced or.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple members that haven't been able to attend meetings. So we have a section in the bylaws called deficient attendance. And it's, absence 2 consecutive meetings or 4 in a calendar year. Then they're considered delinquent and then you'd have to act on removing them. I think the challenge inherent with that is that we just talked about this for another board and commission. It's a sign of the times, maybe. We don't have a deep roster of people that are dying to get onto boards and commissions.
Especially.
And
boards
especially
like
with a
this where
limited
you have
eligibility like this.
eligibility requirements, so we, over the last year or so, we get a person or 2 interested, but it is, I mean, tracking them down even just to meet, to give a orientation of what the board, it's very difficult, so.
yeah.
And it gives you a preview of what their attendance might be like, so we're a little bit challenged, but I think maybe at the next meeting, we can also have a discussion. Is this the best time that works still for
I agree.
everyone? That would be, or do we try a different time that would be more beneficial to folks? I think for staffing purposes, for the amount of expertise we sometimes have to draw on, it's easier for us during the day
Sure.
at some point, but maybe moving it to a morning if that, I think last time we discussed it, it seemed like this last thing, the last part of the day worked best for everyone. But
Well, be a good discussion to have.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah, we can talk to the members that haven't been able to attend if it's, what's the reason? Do you desire to be at more meetings? Is it a schedule issue?
I think at one time we were doing 5 and then we moved it to 4, does that seem right?
I think we were at 6 at one point.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, so.
And can you,
Despite
Can you do
challenges.
teams?
I think we were at
I asked,
3
they said you
PM.
can.
We can't do teams and take action. We just we aren't set up to do that, and I don't think that really officially counts unless there's a.
I guess I'm asking for the members who can't physically attend the meeting, can they do it
They-
virtually?
They can sign in and watch the meeting, but they can't.
They can't vote.
Right.
No.
Okay.
That's.
Okay.
And they can always, and we do save these, they go on the Township's YouTube channel, so they can go on and catch up
Mhm.
on the meeting after the fact, but. Yeah, other than just see the meeting, like Courtney and I are in the meeting right now, but we're, can't vote.
I think it is just, is there a time that works for the collective that's best, but to just also emphasizing the importance. Number one, to make sure that we have a quorum every meeting, but 2, obviously, we're moving into some important discussions.
I agree.
That it's helpful to not have to recover ground, the next meeting or.
I think it'd be good to ask the people who have had bigger attendance problems if there's a better time and then bring it back at the next meeting and discuss if it works for
I
everybody.
like that. And then based on that feedback, does the township go out and do a blast? I don't know how that worked before, but
We have,
it's
yeah,
like, maybe it's that time of year or getting going in the first part of the year. It's like starting fresh. And then 2025, to see if anybody's out there that wants to be. Just thought,
Mhm.
I mean. No point in picking up that scab.
So I'm just thinking, what if you just even approach, I'm just using BJ's just as an example, like somebody in their management team may be interested.
yeah, we can be strategic about it. I mean, we want to get the right people here, the representative of areas. It's a fair point.
So I think are we missing 2 members or just?
Yeah.
Just Ken?
We have,
Laura
Missing.
and Bill and Rachel tonight.
Yeah.
Well, I mean.
But in general,
In terms of open positions.
we've got 1 open position in addition to the supervisor.
Okay.
And I can't remember if that's if that needs to be a business
Yeah.
representative from the corridor or
At large.
at large or resident.
Yeah, we don't have them labeled on here, but we do have the 2 businesses covered right now. I think this person would be at large, the
Okay,
new person. It'd certainly be the easiest way to do it.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we got our marching orders.
Yeah.
I think this was a good meeting today, so I'll move to adjourn the meeting at 5:03. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.